So what we have here is Dynaspheres top of the line pool ball set, which is about $100 cheaper than Aramith's top of the line pool ball set, and we also get some additional extras in here as well. Seems like great value, but are they any good? Let's find out. Welcome to Dynaspheres Palladium. So what we have here, this is the top of the line Dynaspheres Palladium set that's been kindly supplied to us by Dynaspheres for review. And if you've not already heard of the Dynaspheres brand, they were created in 2010 and designed to specifically compete against Aramith, with Aramith being the world's leading manufacturer of phenolic resin balls. And interestingly enough, despite the fact that phenolic resin balls have become the industry standard when it comes to professional pool tournaments, there are only currently two manufacturers, Aramith and Dynaspheres. And just like Aramith, the Dynasphere company also happens to be located in Belgium. However, unlike Aramith, the Dynasphere balls are not manufactured in Belgium, these are actually manufactured in China. Now you may well recognise this very distinctive Dynaspheres design. The reason for that is these were previously released under the name of Platinum. However, in the last few months, Dynaspheres have completely revamped the ranges and they're now available as Tungsten, Vanadium, Rhodium, and what we have here, previously Platinum, now called Palladium. And so what we have here is the brand new, absolutely latest version of the Dynaspheres balls, complete with all new packaging. And with regards to pricing for the Dynaspheres Palladium, we're looking at about $330 for the set, which is a full $100 less than Aramith's top of the range set, the Tournaments. And if you are interested in picking yourself up a set of the Dynaspheres Palladium, then we will be adding Amazon links into the video description below. So please help to support what we do here at Average Joe's Pool, and please be sure if you're going to buy a set, please click our Amazon links. So now we know a little bit about the Dynaspheres Palladium, let's delve in a little bit more detail and have a look at the Spec Check. First of all, when it comes to packaging, the Dynaspheres come in this retail box, and it must be said that the quality of this packaging is absolutely first rate. The quality of the box itself is outstanding. The card that it's made from is super thick, it's very, very nicely finished, including on the inside, and it does include an extra layer of packaging material to help protect the balls on the inside of the lid as well. So as far as packaging goes, this really does stand out as a superb quality product. And when you first open up the box, you'll immediately notice that we actually have some extras that come in the Palladium set. The Palladium package comes complete with two Dynasphere ball racks, one for 8 ball and a second one for 9 ball. And in addition to that, you get a Dynaspheres branded cleaning cloth as well. And then the next thing you're definitely going to notice as you glance your eye over these balls is that this particular set, and it is the only set in Dynaspheres' current ranges to come with 2 cue balls. And as I mentioned previously, these are genuine phenolic resin balls. Now if you're fairly new to the world of pool, you may not have heard of this type of resin before. So what exactly is phenolic resin? Well, it's worth pointing out that all pool balls are made from resins, but the majority of balls are actually made from polyresins, whereas what we have here is a super hard type of resin known as phenolic resin. And phenolic resin tends to be not only a lot harder than polyresins, but also a lot harder wearing, making them the ideal material for use in pool balls. So much so, in fact, that the WPA insist that all balls to be used in professional pool tournaments must be phenolic resin. And another advantage of phenolic resin is that the balls tend to be far less hard wearing on your pool table cloth. And so in theory, if you're using phenolic resin balls, as those years roll by, chances are you may not have to change your cloth quite as often as you would if you were using polyresin. So phenolic resin can save you some money over the long term. Now when it comes to the cosmetic appearance of the Dynaspheres Palladium, as you can see, they have this very distinct design. And what we have on this set is we have the propeller design, which is also on the box here. That's one of Dynaspheres' logos with the number in the center. And as for the choice of font that's been used here, it is a serif font, but it does have a very modern look and feel. It's also worth noting that the number is actually on the white pole of the ball. It's not within the coloured band. And all of the numbers are finished in black, with the exception of the black number 8 ball, where of course the design is finished in white. And when it comes to the cue ball, in fact we have 2 cue balls as standard in this pack, and this is the spotted cue ball, but the spots that we have here are finished in black, and again this is a repeat of this propeller logo. And with regards to the colour scheme that we have on this set of balls, they're actually all traditional colours apart from the 7 and 15 balls. Traditionally these are a maroon colour, they've actually changed the maroon to a brown. So now we've had a quick look at our Palladiums, we need to start running some tests, starting with the technical tests. So for test number 1, we'll be weighing the Palladiums on a calibrated scale to check if the balls meet the WPA requirements and for consistency across the set. And the WPA requirements for weight are simple. Balls must weigh between 5.5 and 6 ounces. And we're glad to report that all of the balls within our Palladium set came in perfectly in line with the WPA regulations and gave us an average ball weight of 5.96 ounces. The heaviest ball in our set was the number 13, which weighed in at 5.991 ounces. And the lightest ball was our number 10, coming in at 5.908 ounces. This gives us a weight variance across the set of 1.40%. And looking at the current weight variance rankings for phenolic resin balls, we can see that this places the Palladiums currently in 8th place. So overall a pretty decent result. It would have been nice to see these come in with a weight variance under 1%. After all, these are Dynaspheres top of the range set. But regardless, what we have here is a well-matched set that conforms to WPA specifications, scoring the Palladiums a very solid 4 stars out of 5 for weight. Next up is test number 2, size, and we'll be measuring the balls with a calibrated micrometer and comparing the results against the WPA regulations and again for consistency across the set. And the WPA requires all balls to measure 2 1/4 inches, which is 57.15 millimeters, with a permitted tolerance as shown on screen. And the Palladiums do well here, but we do have one slight issue. Because one of our 2 cue balls has come in a fraction, and we're talking 0.004 of a millimetre below the WPA requirements. And so naturally this cue ball was the smallest ball in our set, measuring in at 57.019 millimetres. Whilst the largest ball in our set was our number 15, which measured in at 57.168 millimetres. This gives us a size variance across the set of 0.26%. And if we take a look at the rankings for phenolic resin ball size variance, we can see that this would have placed the Palladiums in at 7th place. However, with the one undersized ball, that's unfortunately dropped them down to 9th. And so overall it's a touch disappointing for the Palladiums with the undersized second cue ball. And so therefore scores them a disappointing 2 out of 5 stars for size.
At the Psychological Research Institute, we have the answer. Call us.
And so with our technical tests now complete, we need to move on to the slightly more fun side of things, throw these on the table and start playing with them. And here at Average Joe's Pool, we always ensure that we give every product we review a minimum of 5 hours on the table to ensure that we get a good feel for the product and we're able to give it a fair review. So now it's time to run some racks. What do you say? Let's play. So from a performance perspective, I must say that the Dynaspheres Palladium are absolutely superb. They have a very solid and sturdy feel to them, just as you would expect from a top-end set of phenolic resin balls, and additionally they roll perfectly and do exactly what you would want them to do. I didn't spot any abnormalities whilst playing with these at all. These are spot on. And with regards to clarity on this set, again, absolutely fantastic. The numbers that we have here are very clear. Yes, the design is very bold and may not appeal to everyone. Of course, that's purely cosmetic. But from a performance perspective, this works absolutely perfectly. And without question, one of the standout features of this set when it comes to performance is the cue ball. And I found that the Dynaspheres cue ball that we have in the Palladium set was absolutely fantastic when it came to chalk retention. Hardly any chalk sticks to this ball, and so of course that's going to help you out because you're less likely to suffer from cling, also known as skid or kick. And I found that the Dynaspheres cue ball was definitely far superior for chalk retention than many of Aramith's cue balls. So from that perspective, we definitely have a winner. 10 out of 10 on the cue ball. So we definitely have a fantastic ball set here that is a pleasure to play with. However, not everything is 10 out of 10 when it comes to this set. So my first minor niggle relates to the shade of purple that's been used. Now the purple that's been used in this set is a particularly dark purple. It's about one shade darker than you might normally expect from traditional pool ball colours. Now that in itself is not necessarily a big issue. However, the darker this gets, then the closer it starts to get to our black ball. And I did notice a couple of times when I was playing 9-ball and these were in the rack, I had to kind of double check from a distance to see which one was which because they are surprisingly close in colour. Now thankfully the lighting conditions here are pretty good. However, if you were playing in lower light conditions, then there is quite a strong possibility, especially whilst these are in the rack but separate, that you might not be able to discern them very easily. But as I say, it is a very minor niggle. It didn't actually affect my game at all, but I did have to double check myself on a couple of occasions. And the second colour issue I have is actually related to the shade of blue that's been selected for particularly the number 2 ball. And Dynaspheres have made the bold decision to move away from the darker, more navy blue that you would traditionally find in pool ball sets. And instead of that, we have this lighter blue, which is fairly vibrant in colour, certainly compared to that navy blue. And when I first saw this blue in the box, I really liked it. I thought it was one of the standout colours within the set. However, if you have a tournament blue cloth on your table, we have a Simonis tournament blue here, then what you may well find is this is a little bit too close to the colour of your cloth. And in particular, if the ball is up against the rail where you get the shadow just under the cushion there, it blends in even more. It looks really camouflaged sometimes when this is against the rail. Now, of course, that will only affect you if you have a tournament blue cloth on your table. If you have green, grey, any other colour, you're going to be absolutely fine. That's just one small thing to bear in mind. They've selected this blue to stand out. However, if you've got tournament blue, it does quite the opposite. And another thing that I've noticed since spending the time playing with this set is that they did seem to pick up a little bit of dust from the table. And that dust particularly stood out on the darker coloured balls. Now I must say I did only notice that during the first few days of playing with these balls, and maybe that could have been down to the weather conditions. Maybe the air was a bit drier, maybe there was a little bit more static in the air, but I've not noticed it over the last few days. But as it was something that I did notice, then of course I need to mention it. That's a good excuse for making sure that you keep your pool table nice and clean. So really those minor niggles are nothing but cosmetic and certainly nothing to concern yourself with. However, we did find one problem with the Dynaspheres Palladium which is a bigger issue. And that is the simple fact that we actually have a feature on these balls that does not meet the WPA requirements. Now the WPA regulations for pool balls clearly state that the number that's on either side of the ball must be opposing in so much as if it's this way up on this side, when you rotate the ball it should be the other way up. However, on all of the balls in our Palladium set the number is actually the same way up. So when you turn the ball from one side, spin it directly to the other, the number's the same way up. It shouldn't be like that. If you spin it around you should have one the right way up and one upside down, and that is very specifically a WPA regulation. And so you may be asking, well, how does that actually affect performance? In all reality, it doesn't really if you're just going to be using these balls to play at home. However, with the balls not meeting the WPA requirements, then in theory, these balls would not be permitted to be used in a WPA sanctioned professional tournament. Now, we have seen the Dynaspheres Palladiums, or previously known as the Platinums, used in professional pool tournaments. However, it could be, of course, that maybe those pool tournaments weren't WPA sanctioned, or maybe they just got away with it. But the WPA regulations are there for a reason, and this isn't hitting those. And it really is a shame that we have this oversight in the Palladium set, because we have a set here which really is near perfection. They play fantastically. And so it's a real shame that we have this set kind of stumbling over what is at the end of the day a technicality. And like I said, if you're buying these balls for use at home, which 95% of people will be, then that factor is going to make zero difference to you. So now let's go ahead and score the Dynaspheres Palladium for performance. So there's no doubt that Dynaspheres' top of the line ball set is a great performer, just unfortunately let down a touch by some unusual colour choices that might affect performance. And a simple oversight, meaning that these would not hit the WPA requirements. But to play with, these are an absolute pleasure, scoring them a very respectable 3.5 stars out of 5 for performance.
When did you two have your last bowel moving?
So when we're talking quality, the very first thing that I would like to point out as a huge plus point is the Dynaspheres cue ball. And when it comes to chalk retention, without question, this is one of the best cue balls that I've ever come across. I've been playing with this set for about a week now. I've done all sorts of shots, including jump shots. I've jumped the cue ball off the table several times. I jumped it into the metal leg of the tripod. I just gave it a quick wipe over. And then I came to put this set out. I got this one out of the box, at least I think it's this one. And I was trying to work out which one was actually the one that I've been using for a week and which was unused. It really is that good. There's not a single mark on this after a week's solid use. Now usually with cue balls, once you've been playing with them for a few hours, you do get those little dapples of colour that are left over from chalk, and sometimes you've got to really buff that off to get rid of it. Also, I did have a couple of miscues with this, and you can flick it off super easy with your nail. And so, as I said before, without doubt, 10 out of 10 on the cue ball. And thankfully, a huge bonus when it comes to the Palladium set, of course, is you get 2 of these. And the quality that we have on our cue ball does seem to continue throughout the whole set. All of the colours that we have in this set are nice and vibrant, and they certainly pop, and additionally they've got a superb high gloss finish. And additionally, when it comes to the colour uniformity, looking at the colour of the cue ball compared to the white poles on the ball, again absolutely spot on. And the other thing that I should mention is we've just recently done a review on the rhodiums by Dynasphere, and we had a slight issue with those where some of the engraved numbers were very slightly raised. However, I'm glad to report that on the Palladium set here, I've checked every single ball in this set thoroughly, and you can't feel a single thing. Again, perfect. And of course, as we saw earlier, every ball in this set has met the WPA requirements for both size and weight. So the quality control, it appears, on the Dynaspheres Palladium is absolutely brilliant. Now, speaking of weight, one minor little thing here is on the Dynaspheres website, they do actually claim that their ball sets will meet a weight tolerance across the set of 1.5 grams. And it should be said that a deviation of just 1.5 grams between balls across a full set is a tiny amount, and far beyond the requirements of the WPA specifications. And don't forget, as I just mentioned, these balls have met the WPA requirements for both size and weight. And we're unsure why Dynaspheres have decided to self-impose such a tight tolerance on their pool ball sets, because it's really not required. If it hits WPA specifications, which these do, then any professional pool player in any professional pool tournament in the world can use these balls. And unfortunately, as it turns out, this set does not have a deviation of 1.5 grams across the set. In fact, it is 2.35 grams. Now this 110% absolutely is nitpicking, because, as I said, these meet all the specifications that they need to be used in professional tournaments. But of course, if you are going to make a claim that these conform to even tighter specifications, then of course they really should meet those specifications. But as I mentioned, that 1.5 gram deviation self-imposed claim is really irrelevant because these do hit everything that they need to hit. So really, Dynaspheres would do themselves a favour if they remove that information from the website. All they need to hit is WPA spec, and these do. Now with that WPA spec in mind, do remember, as I mentioned before, that we do have the numbers that are not opposing on either side of the ball. So from that respect, remember these don't technically hit every WPA specification, but size and weight, they're spot on. So that's enough technical talk. Let's give this beautiful ball set from Dynaspheres its score for quality. The quality and finish on the Palladiums is simply superb, and certainly able to give Aramith a good run for their money. Additionally, the cue balls are absolutely amazing, and almost in a league of their own at withstanding chalk retention. From a quality perspective, these are up there with the best balls on the market, scoring them a definitive 4.5 stars out of 5 for quality.
Suck my nose till my head caves in. Why don't you grow up? Drop dead.
So when it comes to value, first of all, it should be pointed out that when we're comparing these for value, there are only 2 mainstream manufacturers in the entire world for phenolic resin pool balls. Now that's kind of crazy when you think about it, because phenolic resin is a requirement by the WPA for professional tournament use, and any serious pool player will only use phenolic resin balls. But despite that fact, there are only 2 manufacturers when it comes to phenolic resin balls: the well-established Aramith and the new challengers Dynaspheres. All other pool balls are going to be made from poly resins, which are inferior to our phenolic resins. So when it comes to comparing our Dynaspheres set to other sets that are on the market, of course the obvious comparison is going to be drawn against Aramith, because that's really their only other competitor. So when it comes to pricing, the Dynaspheres Palladium sit around the $330 mark, and this is Dynaspheres' top of the range set. However, those Aramith tournaments do have a little bit of extra technology that you're not going to find in the Dynaspheres balls. The Aramith tournaments have a feature called Duramith, which is a technology that Aramith have introduced to those balls to help with longevity. And of course we don't have that Duramith technology when it comes to the Dynaspheres balls, so perhaps the closest match when you're looking between Aramith and Dynaspheres sets when it comes to the Palladiums would be the Aramith Super Aramith Pro set. And the Super Aramith Pros also come in at a near identical price point to our Dynaspheres Palladium. The Dynaspheres Palladium $330, Super Aramith Pros $329. And certainly from a performance perspective, there is very little difference between those 2 sets, so it does make for a good comparison. However, when it comes to value, Dynaspheres have actually been pretty smart when it comes to the Palladium set, because we have some extra features here which help stack up that value factor. So first of all, of course, we have 2 cue balls in this set, which is an excellent addition. And for the sake of comparison, if you did want to buy yourself an extra Aramith spotted cue ball, they're currently around $40. And then, of course, in addition to that, this set also comes complete with 2 magic racks, an 8-ball and 9-ball version. Now, it must be said, they're not the best racks in the world. The reason being is they've kind of tried to copy that propeller shape into the rack. So the actual thickness of the rack is a little bit chunky, makes it a little bit hard to work around the balls when you're lifting it from the table. But they are fully functional and they do actually work. And if you're looking at a pair of racks such as that, you're probably going to pay about $15 to get anything with a half decent brand. And additionally, we also have that branded cleaning cloth that comes with this set as well. That's got to be worth at least $5. And so in theory, we have about $65 of freebies included in this set. So that may well sway your decision. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and score our Palladiums for value. There's no doubt that Dynaspheres have set the pricing on their Palladiums to be super competitive compared to similar Aramith sets. And when you factor in the extras, including the racks and the 2 cue balls, you're getting a superb overall deal. So the Palladiums shine through with an extra shiny 4.5 stars out of 5 for value for money. And so finally, it's now time to award the Dynaspheres Palladiums with their official Average Joe's rating. And to do this, we simply take the scores from across our 5 test categories, and then we calculate the overall average. And the Palladiums bring it on home with an official Average Joe's rating of 3.7 stars. And so closely missing out on our coveted Average Joe's Sizzler Award due to the undersized second cue ball. Setting this minor mishap aside, Dynaspheres have created a classic and iconic ball set that's definitely worthy of your consideration. So when it comes to the Palladiums, Dynaspheres have definitely knocked this one out of the park. What we have here is a genuine phenolic resin ball set that's a pleasure to play with and it's definitely going to last a good number of years. And it's also definitely nice to have something that's a little bit different. These balls definitely have a very unique look and feel to them, thanks to the Dynaspheres propeller design. And with regards to cosmetics, Dynaspheres have certainly been very brave. This is a very striking design. You're going to be looking at the design on these balls and either hating it with an absolute passion or falling head over heels in love with it. It really is one of those types of designs that has very little middle ground, so props for Dynaspheres for trying to do something a little bit different. And please do remember, if you are interested in picking up a set of the Palladiums, we will be adding those Amazon links into the video description for both this set and also other available Dynaspheres sets. So if this video has been helpful for you and you like what we do here at Average Joe's Pool, please be sure to help support us in return. Please be sure to click those Amazon links. And before you leave us, we do always ask you to take 1 second out of your busy schedule to at the very least be sure to hit that like button for us. It really does help us out. And whilst you're there with your finger on the trigger, why not also click on that subscribe option? We've got loads more great pool related videos already on our channel and loads more to come. So thank you for joining us here at Average Joe's Pool. So now I'm going to ask you one question, and all I want is a yes or no answer. Do you want to live through this?
I'd like to stay here and shoot the breeze with you about politics and stuff, but I got a transmission to fix.